Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Let me just do a couple adjustments here. There we go. That's not bad. It's overcast today, so we don't have to worry about glare, even though I can actually see there's a little bit of glare in the picture behind me. So as you can see from what I wrote, I basically worked on mostly bridal patterns this week and anything that I thought might be prom-ish, right? Something you can wear at the prom, right? Including dresses that they're almost more cottagecore again than they are prom, but I thought, somebody would wear this to the prom. I also went to Goodwill this week and bought a lot more fabric. I also bought some kits, which I'm going to show you guys because the one is so 70s. It's awesome. And I also just stopped at a place here in Hamilton called Vintage Betty's. I don't think they're online, but if you're ever in Hamilton, check them out. They're like a vintage place, and it's 2 floors, and it's just all these vendors. And I know somebody that's a vendor there, and I stopped in to say hi to her. And of course, while I was there, she was telling me, oh, everything in the basement is half price. That vendor's, it's all been set up. That vendor's going, blah, blah, blah. So I go downstairs, and what do I find? Yes, not one, but 2 pieces of, seriously, this is about as late 60s, early 70s as you can get, right? But I like it because one of the things I'm thinking about is my couch is kind of dying a little bit, and I'm thinking about splurging and getting a vintage style couch. And I was thinking, even if I get a couch that's navy, doing this kind of these is like throw pillows will give it a very 60s vibe, and I would like that. So like I was saying, I got some fabric. Now I'm going to show you some fabric, and you're really going to wonder why I bought it. This one in particular, which I'm really sure is from the 80s. I almost feel like I remember it. It is Sesame Street. It's all the letters. It has been cut, but that's okay, because I will tell you why I'm getting fabric like that. And, not for nothing, but fabric like this, right? If you guys can see how cute the little bunnies are, right? I have been thinking about taking my show on the road, so to speak. Let me just move this ever so slightly. There we go. Taking my show on the road. This, by the way, is flannel. Really nice for like baby stuff. I've been thinking about taking my show on the road, specifically with the patterns that are craft patterns. This is also flannel. I'm sure these pieces went together at some point. And I'm thinking about going to craft shows because the craft patterns just don't sell great online. They don't sell horrible. They don't sell great. Here's the thing. They sell not as well as the kids' patterns. And that's saying a lot because the kids' patterns really don't sell. So I picked up these calicos and things because I'm thinking of making my own fat squares to kind of bundle together with, in different colors. Because I have a lot of my own fabric where I have big pieces of it left over from projects. And it's not enough for another, apparel item. It's like just enough for, like it's a half a yard, like that kind of thing. Like there's really not a lot you can do with it. And I thought, well, rather than wasting it, I should put it together. I'd also had this idea for my smaller pieces because I have a lot of like really slim pieces left over from cutting. And I thought, well, the cotton ones, especially, people do the crumb quilting with those. So I thought I could give it a try. So in all of that fabric, there was also some apparel fabric. So there is this, which is a stretch knit. It's not a lot, but I love this color. And I'm going to try and figure out what I could possibly do with this because I don't know. The only thing I can think of actually is a tank top, which is fine. I would love a purple tank top. That'd be a great thing to have. There was also this, which I don't really like. I don't know if you guys can see the jacquard pattern in here. It's too shiny. It's too like 80s for me. But then there was this, and this there was quite a bit of. It's really beautiful. And yeah, see, there's a lot of it. It's been cut, but there's a lot of it. And for something like this, I mean, I love this color. I don't know what I could do with it. There's probably enough here for me to make. There might be enough here for me to make a blouse. Short sleeve, but that's okay. It was just so pretty and kind of glad I grabbed it. So I also grabbed, which I just realized is under everything. I also grabbed this giant piece of fabric. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see that. It's a very light pattern. It is from 1983. It is written on the side. It looks like it's from 1983. But I really liked it. I thought it was really pretty. And there's a lot of it. It's an industrial fabric. Like I said, it's from 1983 and it's by, it doesn't say, but it's Scotch guarded. I thought about using it on chairs, but then when I got it home and looked at it against the wood of the chairs, it was a bit too much 80s for me. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but it was really pretty. So like I said, I also bought a bunch of kits. There was some of this fabric actually was the blue fabric, the like fake, the flannel fabric that's like the fake, what's the word I'm looking for? Hi, Pam from Ireland. It was shoved into a bag with this. So this is super cute. It's a kit. It's never been opened. And it's a learn to quilt kit. It comes with everything. And I was like, I can resell this. And I put it up online. Also in that was this, which was just too lovely for words. So these and the flannel fabrics were all shoved into a bag. So I bought them. It's nice, right? It's by dimension. There's all the stuff on the back. And it's funny. This is already in somebody's cart. I knew it would be. Look at the dog. People are suckers for dogs. And it's good. We don't deserve them. But, I always say we don't deserve dogs. They're way too good for us. But so then I also found these at Goodwill. And these were all separate. The prices were okay on them. They weren't bad. But like they're full kits. This one I actually had to replace the bag because it was really beat up. But so these are also online. And then I found this thing, which is, I didn't replace the bag on this. I wish I had a bag big enough I would, because this is really, you can see, that's the problem with plastic. Plastic sits around and it gets that weird, I cleaned it, but it's not dirty. It just has that funky kind of, I don't know, it doesn't look good. And this is crewel. This is cotton yarn for crewel. And speaking of the 70s, look at this thing. And if you don't think it looks 70s, hey, get a load of those colors. And it's still got the needle in it, which I don't know if you guys can see, but the needle to me looks rusty. This is also crewel, by the way. And crewel is such a fun kind of embroidery, but it's very involved. So these are online. If anybody's interested, they're online. Use my code. Get yourself a bargain. So let's get into wedding dresses. Let's start with wedding dresses. We'll work up to prom. And then after prom dresses, I do have, I have some celebrity patterns. And then I just have kind of some leftovers from, the past couple of weeks, the couple of patterns I never got to that I'm trying to just get, kind of clear off the table. So first one I'm actually going to take out of the plastic because it's uncut and factory folded. I just wanted to keep it kind of protected. So it's this Butterick. And this was your mom's wedding dress and possibly your grandmom's, but I know. Yeah. I feel like sometimes I should just call my live feeds that 70s show because, oh, by the way, there's no line drawings on the back of this. They're actually on the bottom. But yeah, it's funny because I feel like this was kind of the wedding dress that everyone had in 1974, which I think is the date of this pattern. I mean, it is lovely. But it's funny to me. It seems like that was everybody's wedding dress. And then we're going to jump right into the 80s with, in the 80s, you had, I don't know, I guess it was a rule. You had to have a lot of crap on your wedding dress. Like you couldn't just have a white dress. It had to have a train and some bows and a bunch of pearls and rhinestones and whatever else. It was the thing back in the day. I remember when my friends got married, they all had these really elaborate wedding gowns. And ironically, many of them are not still married, even after having very large weddings. There's another one, again, really elaborate. Of course, I know everybody that likes cottage core is like going, oh my gosh, look at those dresses. And almost all of these, I mean, that last one, not so much, but this one, here's the prom dress over here. So you can, if you want to go to the prom, like your mom in the 1980s, I have your pattern. Oh, that's going to take a minute. Oh, it's crazy too. When I was working on these, look how thick that is. And it's not a size thing. It is so much dress and so many ruffles and flounces and whatever else, you know. Here's another one that's very promish. Ooh, look at that. And this over here, the funny thing is this over here, I knew people that had that prom dress. Like, I remember people going to prom in this dress. Not necessarily in black, but that was the dress. That was the prom dress of the 80s. It's the unofficial. And this, by the way, was a no-name. A lot of the a lot of the wedding dresses are designers of some kind. Like, perfect example. This is pronounced Allison. I've had some other stuff by her. She does a very fantasy cottagecore kind of thing. I have actually under the tab for Bridal, I actually have little girls' dresses that she's designed that are perfect for like a flower girl. And look, it's McCall's and they don't have line drawings in. I'm telling you, McCall's is really stingy with the line drawings. But as you can see, and again, there you go. Bridesmaids, want to go to prom in that? We got you covered. All right. Ooh, there we go. And again, huge. Let me put these back and we'll start working on simplicity. I had a lot of simplicity. Well, maybe a lot is an overstatement. Why don't we start? We'll start with the really vintagey one first. So again, this is another gorgeous, right? Now this one has been cut, but in true Mrs. Lander's form, she took very good care of it, and all the pieces are in here. By the way, I was really interested in Mrs. Lander's. So I went online to try and find Mrs. Lander's. Oh, no, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm wrong. That's not the one that's cut. This is the one that's missing a ton of pieces and the directions. So it's a wounded bird. So we're going to take this. I'm going to put this aside. There we go. This is the one that was cut but is in fabulous condition. And actually, you can see when you look on the back, see that little thing in the bottom? I keep track of the pieces, and I go through and I verify that all the pieces are there, and that's how I do it. I just do a little cross through the piece numbers or whatever. So, all right. Now we're starting to get into the 80s. I'm going to take this one out for you guys so you can see a little bit better. Starting to get into the 80s. And again, here we go. You want to wear it to the prom. You want to be bridesmaids. I got your dress pattern for you. And now this next one, this is a gunny sack. And I already have this. This is just another size of the same dress. And I mean, wow. Yeah, look at that, right? So I actually have two of these, which was kind of cool. And then we get into the 90s and we have, again, I think actually this is late 80s. So this is Belle France. I've never heard of Belle France. Sounds like the phone company, but it's not. It's Belle France. And there we go. There's your cottagecore prom dress. It is kind of nice that almost every single one of these, you could do the wedding gown and the bridesmaid's gown with one pattern. And I guess, if you're having your dresses made, that'll probably save you some cash, save you a little bit of cash there. And then here's another one. This one's very Gone with the Wind. If you wanted to be Scarlett O'Hara on the day you got married, we have your pattern. And there's the line drawings. Look at the train on that. Can you see the ruffles? And this one is by Michelle Picone. I guess, what's the name of the designer? Evan Picone. Evan Paton is the designer. My grandmother actually worked for him as a seamstress. I should remember his name. She was a seamstress for him, and what she did was she would basically try out his patterns and say, this pattern takes a really long time to make, because of this, because, of the sleeve or the pocket or whatever, or the collar, and it would give him an idea of what he should charge for a dress. All right, so I now have 3 gunny sacks. This is also one of the most ultimate of your prom dresses from the 1980s. I guess it could also be a wedding dress. I mean, you could totally do this as a wedding dress. A lot of these are kind of have that crossover thing. Not all of them, though. I mean, some of those dresses we've already seen. They're a straight up wedding dress. You're not. I mean, you could go to prom in it, but people might get the wrong idea. Your boyfriend might just speed away in the limo, right? Oh, and I had a Laura Ashley. Talk about cottagecore. This is about as cottagecore as you can possibly get. So it's a Laura Ashley. I think this was from 80, which means this probably was crossover 79, 80. Could definitely be a wedding dress. Could definitely be a prom dress. Could be a dress you just make to wear to the supermarket, like we've discussed before. Someone was talking about another YouTuber who says she just wears these dresses like this to Target. You can wear that to Target. Again, you might get some looks, but whatevs, man. Oh, and I also had this. This was just this butterick pattern. I thought I had this one, so when I saw it, I grabbed it and ironed it, thinking that I had it. I don't have it. I have one that is so similar to this. And it's funny because sometimes when things are similar, their numbers are similar, but not this one. The numbers weren't similar. But I mean, obviously, again, this is so formal. And it kind of reminds me of the dress that I wore to my friend's wedding. The dress I had for my friend's wedding was very much like this, except the top was black velvet. Actually, was it a Jessica top? I think it was. Ooh, I think when I was the maid of honor for my best friend, I think my dress was Jessica McClintock. It was all black velvet, and then it had this off-the-shoulder lace piece that went over like my boobs and my arms, and it was hardcore. All right, so now we're getting into the prom section of our show. So, yeah, this dress, this is another dress that was kind of ubiquitous in late 80s, early 90s. This puffy sleeve and, kind of the sweetheart neckline, the yoke as a V yoke in the front, all that. Oh, and another Essence pattern. Very nice. Also very much, throwback kind of prom pattern. And then this, because I thought, Cynthia Raleigh. This would have been what I would have worn to the prom. I would have worn this one. Yeah. I didn't go to my prom. I know everybody. Yeah, I know. Feel sorry for me. No one asked me. It may have been because I was one of the tallest girls in the high school. Could have been. Maybe not. Right. This is another one. I know it doesn't look prom, but think about it. This is basically the Some Like It Hot dress. Or you can do it as a Some Like It Hot jumpsuit. I can see girls, especially today, making this, a long version of this in a fabric that's like an evening fabric. And then there was this, because this also had kind of that ubiquitous puff sleeve and the yoke, the V yoke. And look, I know it's McCall's, and so no line drawings. And this is by Lands of Switzerland. I don't know if you guys are actually familiar with them, but they are known for doing that kind of stuff. It's very, how do I describe it? It's very feminine. Like, I don't want to say it's really not cottagecore. It's just very feminine. They do a lots of ditzy prints. And by the way, even if you don't like that, they make the best pajamas on the planet. Their pajamas last for like 100 years. Really good flannel pajamas. You can get them through Vermont Country Store, but they are expensive. Like, expect to pay maybe $100 for a pair of pajamas and like 70 for a robe, but they last forever. They really do. All right, so we're now getting into the celebrity portion of our patterns. From here on out, they're just straight up patterns. They're not specifically prom, but here's our last prom pattern. And look at the name. That's right. She's been in the news lately. There are no line drawings, by the way. Again, with this, see, I like this better. This doesn't do the puff sleeves, but I remember this being really like the kind of thing you saw a lot of. This is only like 85 too. So, but yeah, it's by Brooke. So Brooke's been in the news lately. I haven't watched the documentary, and I got to be honest, the reason I haven't watched the documentary is I feel like I kind of know what it's about already. Like, she's going to talk about her mom basically using her as a meal ticket for years. And I kind of feel like we all already know this story, right? But so after I found that Brooke pattern, I found Happy Sunday, Evangelina. After I found that pattern, I found even more Brooke patterns. So we're just going to do a whole little Brooke section right now. This is our celebrity patterns for the week. Brooke Shields patterns. Very cute. I don't remember her having a line with McCall's, but obviously she did, because I have like 6 patterns sitting in front of me. I think she was all over the place. I think her mom really kind of, had her do a little bit of everything. This is cute. This will probably sell right away. I got to be honest. Jumpsuits sell really well for me. I don't know what it is with these young girls and their jumpsuits, but I get it. I get it. I used to love a jumpsuit back in the day. Now that I've gotten older, well, let's be honest. Now that I'm older and I have to pee literally every 15 or so minutes, having a jumpsuit doesn't really work anymore. Yeah, I don't think having like a bodysuit would work anymore either. Oh, by the way, these Brooks, it's very hard to see. Can you see that little red dot right there? These have unused iron-on transfers. Let me pull the transfers out so you guys can see them. And it's odd because I, again, don't remember this, but they're Brooke, all signed iron-on transfers. I don't know if people wanted, this was the age of Izod and I'm trying to think, Calvin Klein, people like that, where you really were wearing someone else's signature on your butt. So maybe there were people that wanted Brooke Shields' signature on their butt. This was interesting. Polo shirts. For those of you who don't know, polo shirts really were not a thing that women really, like, I don't remember women wearing polo shirts in the 60s when I was a kid, or even the early 70s. It was kind of the mid 70s. They came about, they became kind of the new casual wear for women. And then last but not least, this is another one that has by the way, that last one had the transfers also. So does this one also have the transfers. And it's just a basic kind of camp shirt. And yeah, so anyway, if anybody has seen the Brooke documentary, let me know what you thought. But I just kind of feel like we know what she's going to say. My mom used me as a meal ticket my whole life, and I'm kind of damaged, thanks. She doesn't seem that damaged, though. I like Brooke Shields. I liked the show Suddenly Susan. I don't know if people watched that, but I liked it. It was kind of what made Kathy Griffith famous. And I know she's very polarizing, but I think she's funny. All right, so I found one of these again. I've had a couple of these. French fries. Again, don't remember this. This is a unisex youth pattern. It has the weirdest looking pants on the back. I guess they're like a paper bag pant. And then look, see this? That's that little cap thing she's got on her head right there. So yeah, it comes with a hat. Oh, and then I found this. I'm so happy about this. All right, Willie wear. Okay, this is the designer, Willie Smith. Not to be confused with Will Smith, even though they're both from Philly. By the way, no line drawing. And this is so exceptional. Look at this. It is a unisex suit pattern. Now, this one is sized for anybody that's got a chest 42, 44, and then it has the other measurements. Willie Smith and Willie Wear was a brand that was around in the 80s. And unfortunately, he died very early. Like, I think he died in 1986, maybe 87, and he died of AIDS. And it was very publicized. His company, of course, eventually went under. I think they were around till about 1990. But he was an exciting designer. He was doing things that designers didn't do, like unisex suits. Like, look at this. This is crazy. Like, now it doesn't seem so weird. You know, we have so much conversation around gender. You know, back in this days, you were just androgynous. We didn't really have the non-binary and gender and things like that. Hello, Olivia. You know, so it was interesting that Willie Smith would have done stuff like this, that Willie Wear would have done stuff like this. So I'm happy because his patterns always fetch a pretty good dollar. And it's just nice to see it. It's nice to visit. You know, I was kind of living in Philly back then. In 1988, I was living in Philly. And we have Shelley Siegel laundry. It's a suit. It's kind of cute. If you look closely, see this here? It's a jumper dress. And then the blouse is included in the pattern. The skirt's included and the jacket's included. And the jacket, actually, if you look, I thought it was just belted, but it's not. It's actually got some type of a detail that pulls the jacket in. Oh, I forgot about these. Okay, I also threw into the mix of patterns with Prom and Bridal anything the mother of the bride might wear. So I thought this was very mother of the bride. I mean, it's pretty. And, you know, it's got a full lace jacket that goes over the dress. It's pretty. And I thought, you know, this is exactly what someone's mom would wear to, you know, the mother of the bride, right? And then I saw this one. Oh, by the way, this gets the award for the youngest pattern I found. This is from 2001. So Mrs. Landers must have still been alive in 2001 because she went out and she bought this pattern. And I put this in with the mother of the bride stuff. I know I started to talk about it. I can't remember if I finished it. I tried to find information on Mrs. Landers and I couldn't. I don't know her first name. So I Googled Mrs. George Landers, Schwanksville, PA, which is, you know, because I'm looking at the address on the mail order patterns and I couldn't find anything on her. So Mrs. Landers might be alive. Someone had asked me earlier this week who Mrs. Landers was because I was referring to her often. She is the woman whose home was cleaned out, and I bought two Simplicity Sewing Pattern filing cabinets from the person that did her clean out, and 3,000 patterns that were in the said cabinets. All right, this is the Busy Woman's Sewing Pattern, which I've never heard of. It's by Nancy Zeman, who I only know about Nancy Zeman because she actually had a show on PBS that was more dedicated to quilting than regular sewing, but I've had a couple patterns from her before. And then this is also her creative women. So one is Busy Woman. One is Creative Woman Sewing Pattern, both by Nancy Zeman. This one, I guess, she shows you how to do the inset for the lace or the, you know, this detail over here. And last but not least, I have to laugh at this pattern because very often when I am putting the patterns online, I explain to people that they have discoloration. This, by the way, is just, it's the top and the pants, the shirt that's kind of a jacket, and then you can do shorts or pants from the same pattern. This spot here is not from Mrs. Landers. While I was doing these, I was drinking coffee, and that's a coffee spot that I then dabbed and couldn't get out and didn't want to put too much water on the pattern. So yeah, So if anyone likes this pattern and is freaked out by the little spot there, it's nothing gross. It's just my coffee. No line drawings again. Right. And here's the last of the last. We're getting down to the end of the patterns, which is fabulous because I was starting to get a little tired of patterns. I have to be honest with you. So this, I think, might be the last of the quick sew, except for men's patterns. And I think it's the last of the new look and the last of this other Savers brand. So this new look pattern, super cute, right? Does it have, yeah, it has line drawings in the back. Really cute, right? No directions. So I'm going to put it to the side with the other wounded birds and hope that when I'm digging through all of the cut patterns that I find the directions to that one. All right, so here's another new look. This is the shirt only, by the way. Kind of cool. It has that button detail in the back that I'm assuming is probably some type of elastic sewn in that creates that fall for the jacket. And another one of these, very similar to the other stuff, right, that I've already showed you from New Look, this like kind of wide skirt with a collarless detailed jacket going over it, or shirt, depending on, you know, how you view it. So I think it's the last of these patterns also. These are super saver patterns. So, okay, first of all, look at that brooch, man. Look at that brooch. Look at it. It's awesome. Super saver patterns were apparently short-lived Simplicity, and they were Simplicity's way of throwing their hat into the ring with the less expensive patterns. Like, I don't know what this went for. I'm looking for a price. $1.75. So, and this is from I believe this was the late 80s. $1.75, late 80s. Okay, so I don't remember what patterns were back then, but, you know, I guess they were more expensive. And you have like Stitch and Save, which is McCall's, and you have See and Sew, which is Butterick. Please don't remind me of See and Sew because there's still a table covered with See and Sew. The only I've actually gotten most of the patterns off that table except for the See and Sew. I've now laid out children's patterns. And even though I've told you I don't really like children's patterns, there are some interesting children's patterns as I was laying them out. Oh, the bathroom. No, my bathroom is not empty of patterns and will probably not be until September, honestly. Because once I get done with these patterns, these uncut patterns, I need to start on the cut patterns. And at some point in time, I'm going to need to do all the See and Sew, which are there's like a wall of See and Sew, all the children's patterns and all the craft patterns before I even start to look at the cut patterns. So yeah, but this is probably the end of these. It's the end of the Super Savers. I didn't see any more except there might be some cut. I didn't see any more New Look. And I think this is the last of the quick sew, except for I know there's a couple quick sews in with the men's patterns. So quick sew. So this is ancient because nobody makes their own brassieres anymore. And this is weird. It looks weird on camera, but it's rust. And there's the line drawing on the back. Not much of a line drawing on a bra pattern. There was this. Super cute, very 80s top. Kind of cool too. It's like one piece. There's no actual sleeve. I should keep this for myself. I like this. No. I know I'm not gonna keep patterns. There's so many. Does this wrap? No, it does not wrap. It's just a belt on the front there. And then some PJs. Ooh, I think I just heard thunder. We had a lot of rain yesterday, fair bit of thunder, and we've had a very humid day today, and my dog does not like thunder. He doesn't even like rain. When it rains a lot, I think he associates rain with thunder, so he has an issue with rain even. And just a really basic pattern from Quick Sew. And then this super weird pattern from Quick Sew. Well, I mean, weird's not really the right word for it, but right? Because I was just thinking I really should find a pattern for long velvet gloves because I just go through them, you know, and a jabot, several jabots. And ooh, they even have short gloves and scarves. And do they have the beret? The beret on there? Yeah, the beret. Look, there's the beret. So if you were sitting around recently thinking, I'd really like a pattern for some long velvet gloves and a beret, go to my shop. I got it below. It's listed below. And apparently people have been going to my shop after watching these videos. And I'll tell you why. The code I give you guys below, Hussy10, I only assign to YouTube. So I know when people have watched a YouTube video because they're using the Hussy10 code. Everybody else, I have codes like thanks 10. If you buy something, you get a code. I have one that's like yeah, YEAH 10 for people that have liked something or it's sitting in a cart, they get a code and things like that. So that's all the patterns for today. I'm going to move this because I love making people seasick. Now, next week, I have bit the proverbial bullet, as they say, and I am going to start working on the men's patterns and the unisex patterns. Once I get done doing men's patterns and unisex patterns, they're really not going to be so themed, the episodes. They're just going to be kind of like, here's a bunch of patterns, that are women's patterns from the 90s, 80s, 70s, whatever. I might try and like strategically pull out the 60s and 70s and do them on a different day than the 80s and 90s, but I just need to get through patterns now at this point. So, what the hell? All right, there's some alarm going off. I have no idea what it is, but I don't care because it's not my house. So until next week, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope wherever you are, it's nice. Our weather's been incredibly weird. We've had pretty much every season in a week last week. And it's kind of, and it was really warm this last week, but we call that false summer because it's like, we know that's not summer yet. We're going to get a little more cold weather, a little more rain, probably not ice cold, but chillier spring weather before we actually get summer, or as we call it in New Jersey, hell's front porch. Olivia's saying she's had weird weather too. And Iowa, I've been to Iowa. By the way, just so you know, Olivia, I love the Midwest. I used to live in Colorado in the 80s, and I used to spend about a week every August in a place called Lake McConaughey, which is in Ogallala, Nebraska. And I loved it. It was absolutely beautiful. I also like Iowa. I thought Iowa was cool. I've been to Des Moines, I don't even know how many times, plus little places like Ames and Adel, Iowa, all these tiny little places in Iowa. And I liked it. I don't know why the Midwest is considered, I don't know. It's weird, but the Midwest always gets represented as like a weird place, and you're from Southern California originally, which is funny because I lived in LA back in 2002, 2003. And, I liked the Midwest. I thought the Midwest was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I don't like tornadoes, but who does, right? In New Jersey, we have hurricanes. So you're going to have something wherever you live. You're going to have some weather, right? You get used to it. But I really liked Iowa. But I know I've been to Iowa in the summer, and as much as we have hell's front porch here, you also have that in Iowa. You have that high humidity and high heat together. So it's like walking around in a steam bath all day in the middle of July. Yeah, it sucks. But anyway, until next week. Like, subscribe, comment, tell me what you think. I thought that was really fun to do the trip down memory lane with bridal dresses, because when I was married, I just got married in a dress and it was at City Hall. But I had a lot of friends who had these dresses, especially the late 80s, early 90s one, where you just had so many moving parts of the dress. There's so much crap. I mean, I remember actually helping my friend Pam use the toilet in her dress because she had kind of this hoopy skirt thing going on underneath, and we had to like lift it on either side so that she could sit down on the toilet. So yeah, she's actually still married. She's one of the only ones that's still married. But I digress. Until next week, I hope you all are doing well. I hope wherever you are, the weather's okay and it's not driving you crazy. Um, and like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you thought of this week. And I hope to see you next week when we go over unisex and men's clothes. We won't do little boys. We're just going to do men's and unisex. And until then, stay well. And thank you for coming by to my channel. See you soon.